Hey everyone, so I'm here today sharing just a quick video on how I spray foam insulate the window weight pockets in my older apartment, older rental. So essentially these are, I'm guessing, original windows. The thing about these though is that the paneling, and in this case underneath the plaster, goes all the way up to the wood where the windows screw in on the sides. So I don't really have any easy way, even if I were to pop off that trim, to get in there and spray foam insulate. So what I do, and what I'm going to show you, is essentially I work my way from top to bottom, all the way down with spray foam. And I'll show you how I do that over the course of a couple days, ensuring the spray foam sets up. What we'll do afterwards is we'll just test and verify that it worked its way up to make sure we did it right. All right, so let's get started. All right, so here we are looking at the first window. I've already taken out this lower sash here. And what we're going to do is come over here, and I am going to take out the window weights first off. So this lower pocket here, we want to make sure we get a good amount of insulation in, and honestly this is probably one of the hardest places because it goes down quite low. So I'm just going to take this out. And I'm going to reuse these screws, so I'm going to hang on to these. Normally I just nail these in afterwards, but these screws are always very handy and it's kind of hard to find them. So, like that. Work to lever this piece out. And I'd already cut these window weights, so they're already down in there. But what you should see, like I said, is that this lath and plaster goes all the way underneath this piece of wood here. So what I do is I pull out these window weights. It looks like there's only one in there, which is what you would expect. And then we're going to do the same thing on this side. Like I said, I throw most old screws away, but these I keep because they're the perfect size to put these back in afterwards. There we go. All right, and that's really it for those lower pockets. What we're going to do is we're going to adhere as best we can, spray foam to the side, and we're going to fill in this little pocket down here. All right, so now we're going to be actually drilling into these wood pieces right here, all the way down till about probably here, with holes probably every 12 inches for now, maybe a little bigger, but all the way down. So I don't know what kind of paint this is, so I'm going to err on the side of caution, and I'm going to put my respirator on because I don't want to inhale any lead of any sort, just in case. All right, so just to give you a sense of what I did here, under where the window weight pulleys were, I've drilled holes about every 10 inches or so. And what we're going to do is we're going to take the spray foam nozzle and we're going to push it in here, and we're going to put spray foam in to essentially fill a portion of this pocket. What I found is there's rough wood inside and it tends to stick pretty well. We'll let that expand a bit, and then we'll come back probably tomorrow and we'll drill holes in between where we drilled the first holes, and we'll put more spray foam in. What that'll do is it'll expand to fill the gap between the prior day's spray foam, which should be set up. I should also mention that these holes should be angled downward. So not just straight in, but angled downward so that you're able to get closer to the surface of the wall inside, and it kind of catches on that rough wood, so don't forget to do that. So normally they say not to use this stuff for windows, which is good advice because this pushes out quite far. We're not using it for windows here, even though it is in an enclosed space. When we go down in here, it will just float up and it won't push this out, in my experience at least. So we should be good. I'm going to start. I'm not sure how good an angle I can get here, but I'm going to start just by filling in this lower cavity as best I can. And the pocket, you can see or not, but the pocket here goes down about 9 inches. So I want to get in there as much as I can. My goal is to get it to adhere to the walls so that it expands out versus just kind of shoving it all in the bottom. So to do that, I just have to take it slow. This stuff does come out pretty quick when you start. I have 4 windows here to do. These are all prepped and ready. I got the holes drilled and everything. So I'm just gonna whip through these while you watch. Oh, and always wear gloves. Jeez. Well, that ain't cool, big gap filler. Luckily, I've got another one here with a nozzle. It's a good reason to always wear gloves, because this stuff, once it gets on you, does not want to come off. All right, when you work with this stuff, you always want to hold it upside down and aim down. And I'm trying to get it to adhere to the walls as best I can. So I've found that's how I have the best luck. And we'll push down, pushy push. I'll kind of show you, or try and show you what I'm talking about here. Oh, made a mess. So this is what I'm talking about here. So very slowly, when you first start out, let's try and paint it on the walls. Sometimes it'll fall down. That's okay, but you can kind of get a sense for what's going on here. All right, and that should not fall down. One of the things I'm just going to do now, before I get too far ahead of myself, is just knock this stuff off. Not so much because it's going to cause an issue and it'll just break off afterwards, but I want to put the piece of wood back in there, and I want it to fit in good and not flex out. What I'm going to do is give that a little bit more down in the crevasse here. And then put this guy back on. So that'll expand pretty well in there. And so long as we don't put too much, which is always the trick with this, it will not force this out. But we want to put this back in here so it's got something to push against and push up for, or something to push it up. Otherwise, this can be problematic. We can just ooze out the sides here rather than going up where you want it. Do the same thing in this cavity in here. All right, so I've got a few more to do here, so I'm just going to continue on filling in those pockets and doing the exact same thing. So for this double pocket here, I decided to treat it just like a really big single pocket. So I filled it in down there. I put the backer, or the opening for the window weights, back on, and I'm just going to put the spray foam on the back of that and then let it fill out this way. All right, so now to all these holes that we drilled in here. So I've got all the window pockets filled in except for the double. So what I like to do is just start at the top, and you just kind of stick it in the hole, and bottom it out. So make sure that it's touching the back when you first start. That way it has a higher likelihood of sticking to the sides. So I'm just going to give it about 10 seconds in each hole. Just kind of wiggling it around a little bit. That's the reason we did this at a downward angle. Just do your best. And then here, same thing. Just kind of wiggle it around as best you can. Up and down. And then same thing on this one. And now we will start at the top and do the other side, same as before. All right, so that's as much as we're going to do for today. We've got all of the holes filled on either side. And then next time, and actually when I get some more spray foam, we're going to come in here and we're going to drill some holes in the middle. We're going to see kind of where the spray foam ended up. And then we're going to put some more in there. I did all of the corner areas here of all my windows. I didn't have enough spray foam to do all of the holes. So it's going to be a three-day effort for me, unfortunately. All right, so I'm back for day 2. That spray foam has had some time to set up in the wall, so we're ready for the next step. So to start with, quick recap, we put a considerable amount of spray foam here in this this section here to fill in the part that's down below the window, as well as the part that's behind this little opening where the window weights would have been. I actually attempted to remove these. You can see I still got a screw loose there. Attempted to remove these, and those are stuck tight, which is good. That's what you want, because that means the spray foam has expanded out and is now touching the opposite side of this board and kind of holding it in place. Same thing on this side. So next thing we're going to do is drill some holes at the midway points, maybe do a little exploration and see how far the spray foam went, either up or down, just down throughout. And then we're going to put some more in. We're going to do the same for this side, and I've got several windows to do, so I'm going to do the same for all those as well. It's interesting, so I can feel spray foam in both of these. So I think it's expanded more than I would have expected, which is good. What I might do is drill another hole and just kind of get a sense for, oh yeah, some in there too. Oh, so what Ian and I would say is kind of an unexpected turn of events. In probing through here, it does feel like there is good fill all throughout. So I'm gonna just take a second, put another hole. That's one more hole. Kind of probe again. Yeah, I feel it all around, so that's interesting. Normally it doesn't work like that. Normally I don't have that good a fill rate. So I'm kind of curious to see how these other windows turn out, but I checked both sides and they both look good, so it's interesting. I guess separate from that, the two places I didn't do up here were the areas where the pulleys were. So I'm going to do those now. And I'm actually going to start by pushing up on those. It's a little tricky with the can, but basically we're going to work up and into the corner as best we can while holding the can correctly. And this is hard, this is tricky. You can see it's kind of falling all over the place. But eventually, I'll get it up there. And you want to get it on both sides too. And then here, you can work your way down as well. I'm going to work my way down, just going to dump it in a little bit. And I would expect that, oh, I can feel it in there coming down from below. I would just plan on having some ooze out from the top here. I've never not had that happen. The good news is after it dries, you can just kind of get it off with a razor knife or something like that. So it's likely by the time I finish today, that's going to be oozing out. That's okay. And I'm just going to empty the rest of this can in this one because there isn't much left. Oh, you can see it pushing out. So I just made a mess here. I must have hit the bottom here and it's going to start puffing out, but that's okay. Just a side note, if you're doing it right, expect stuff like this. So I've overfilled the cavity, which was part of my test here, just to make sure it was full. But when I did up there, I knew I put more in than I probably should have. I'd rather see it popping out and know that it's full than have it be empty. It's kind of walking its way down the wall, leaving a trail of muck wherever it goes. I had some of these on the outside of my house too. They just kind of like flopped down and left a trail along the outside of the siding. Anyway, the good news is all of this is going to be covered anyway, and it scrapes off really easy once it dries. So not a big deal, just something to be prepared for. I say that, it's not a big deal for me because I don't have floors in here yet. Might be a big deal for you, so make sure you've covered things up if that is a problem. So then when you hear the can sputtering, that's how you know the can's empty. Doing this requires pretty decent pressure behind the foam so it expands correctly. So just make sure you're paying attention. All right, so I'm in one of the other rooms where I had to insulate, and as you can see, I went a little big on the spray foam. So what happened was I had this piece in. It was actually screwed in, right? But the spray foam expanded, dried, and popped it off. So you want to be real careful, more careful than I was, when you're putting that spray foam in, just because it can cause damage, right? No issues here up the length, because I haven't done it yet, and I don't anticipate any issues, because this usually, or I've never had this pop up before. But here, right, this is an area where if it dries up high, it will push out this way. And you know, these aren't in, they're just little screws that are barely in. So I got to clean that up. I'm going to use a 4-inch flooring scraper to just shear off a part of that so I can get that in nice and tight. Because if I don't, it's going to impact my ability to get the window in there. So just a 4-inch scraper. I'm going to take and just cut it away so that I can get that piece of wood back in there. So I like to show mistakes in these videos because I feel like there's a good chance that if I run into an issue, others are going to run into an issue as well. And I feel like it's always good to anticipate that. All right, so I got kind of curious to know how this bigger area in the middle was doing. And the thing about this area in the middle is that it actually is hollow. This one spot out of all these windows is actually hollow in the middle, so I can take off the trim and look inside, and this is what I did. So I ended up taking this piece off here, and here's what I was left with. And you can kind of see I actually decided to do this after I'd already put some in there. I thought it would stay, but it didn't. So it's kind of rolling down now, so whoops. But you can kind of see here, it's perfect. Like all the way up until I got to the point where I knew I had a gap, right? Because up here, it's much harder to get done because there's a bigger void there. So I'm gonna go and I'm just gonna fill that in now that I've got it off. But as you can see, this does a really good job, right? It's all expanded out, and I actually had to cut most of this off the back of the casing. It had expanded and stuck to it. All right, so these windows are all done. Some of the spray foam in these is still expanding and curing. over here and on this side of this window, it's all done. And as you kind of can see, it's a bit of a mess here, right? This comes off real quick with like a drywall knife or a 4-inch scrape or something like that. You just kind of scrape it down, all comes off, and that's what you want to see. Like I said, it's a little bit messy, but that's how you know that you've gotten a good fill within the walls, right? It's pushing out against something, so that's good. Just don't waste too much spray foam, right? It's hard to gauge, but do your best. Like I said, I opened up this cavity just to kind of show you what the fill rate was like, and it's fantastic. I have this open, so I'm going to do the top part here with it out because I already opened it up. For something like this where you've got 2 windows and, you know, obviously there's no plaster and lath in between, you can get whee. They do that. It's a lot of fun when it's on the outside of the house. Once this is expanded and cured, I'll just scrape that back. So I hope you found this helpful. I made it because when I was first trying to figure out how to do this, I couldn't find anywhere on YouTube where anyone had a similar problem, where you've got the lath and plaster going underneath the trim, so your only option was to attack it from the side. So I took some time. I tried to figure out what the fill rate would be, how far apart the holes should be, and honestly, like how to best go about it, and shared it, right? So if you did enjoy it, please like and subscribe. Leave me any comments, questions, anything like that. I'll do my best to help. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time.